Hello and welcome to Global Eye. I'm Parikshit Luthra. There's big relief for Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan, who has been set free by the Islamabad High Court in a corruption case. The court has granted him bail for 2 weeks and ordered that he is not to be arrested in any new case until the 17th of May. This relief comes after the Supreme Court on Thursday termed Imran Khan's arrest by the military as illegal. Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif on Friday said that the PTI leadership is trying to push Pakistan towards destruction. Meanwhile, over 1,500 PTI workers were booked for storming the general headquarters of the army and damaging public property. Police had to resort to gunfire, tear gas and water cannons to control the enraged workers. But the political drama is far from over. According to Pakistani media, the Shehbaz Sharif government is mulling over imposing emergency in the country. The political crisis comes at a time when Pakistan is grappling with severe economic problems, including a very high inflation, depreciating currency. The country has been struggling to secure a bailout package from the IMF as well. So what's ahead for Pakistan amid all this economic chaos, a constitutional crisis between the government and the judiciary, and tensions between the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and also the army? Joining me now to take this forward is Zorawar Daulat Singh, adjunct fellow at the Institute of Chinese Studies and a renowned author and strategic affairs expert. We're joined by Anil Trigunayat, former ambassador, and Humayun Chattha, barrister Humayun Chattha, joining us from Pakistan. Humayun Chattha, if I can begin with you, give us a sense of how volatile the situation is currently. Yes, there is relief for Imran Khan. He has been released by the court, and there is reprieve for arrest for a few days at least. But having said that, what could happen in the interim? How could the army react?
Parikshit, as the political situation is very volatile in Pakistan, we can foresee another period of instability as far as the political situation in Pakistan is concerned. As far as your legal question is concerned, the relief given by Islamabad High Court is very extraordinary. We cannot find any single example in the Pakistan legal system where a culprit has been given bail for an offense or for an FIR which hasn't yet been registered, and they have stopped the police to arrest Mr. Imran Khan till 7th May. That will be the next hearing. I think we will see more confrontation between different institutions of the state. And I can see a direct confrontation between judiciary and the government, because I think judiciary is going an extra mile to give relief to Mr. Imran Khan, which I think, as being a lawyer, I think the court should not have gone to that extent. If government think that Imran Khan is responsible for some act, let him be investigated and let the courts, after that investigation, decide whether he has committed any act or not.
Right. I'll come back to you, Humayun, but let me get in Zorawar Daulat Singh as well. Zorawar, how do you see the situation? Who do you think is stronger when it comes to the current political crisis? We're seeing Imran Khan's political party carrying out protests across the country. What does this mean for Imran Khan? What are the dangers for the Pakistan people ahead as a result of this crisis that we see currently?
Well, the Pakistan people is precisely where this starts, right? They've seen through this game that's being played by the military security establishment, the deep state, for a long, long time. The Pakistani army has cultivated politicians. They use these as a civilian face, and they play power behind the scenes. What happened with Imran Khan is another chapter in their attempt to try and move the country towards a more a different form of a civilian government. This time, it's not working. I think people now, firstly, let's look at it. The base of the population that is beginning, it's also the upper middle class, the literate portions of the Pakistani society in Punjab are now beginning to question whether this model this civil-military model, lopsided model, is something which is beneficial for Pakistan's future. They've been helpless in the past. I think they see in Imran Khan a somewhat chaotic, but an attempt to challenge some of the conventional sort of wisdoms that have been accepted so far. I think what we are seeing in the recent days is the authority, the prestige of the Pakistani army has taken a severe, unprecedented dent. It remains to be seen how they will salvage this situation, but the fact that they are having to make concessions and a U-turn, in a sense, on this particular arrest of Imran Khan suggests that they have begun to realize that the options that they hold, which they have several options, but some of them involve them having to now strike at their own people in Punjab. And that's something which I don't think even the military in Pakistan relishes. Right. They know that crisis is going to keep unfolding. So I think the big picture trend is the Pakistani domestic politics is now moving in a direction where we might soon see a tipping point, whether it happens in the coming months or coming years, where this arrangement of this military as the power behind the scenes is not sustainable anymore.
All right.
What follows is something which we need to watch.
All right. Very important points there. Ambassador Trigunayat, welcome to Global Eye. Let me begin by asking you, how strong is Shehbaz Sharif government at this juncture? Following the decision of the courts, Shehbaz Sharif went on to say that Imran Khan is responsible for the destruction that they're in. They're responsible for the fact that Pakistan has not been able to get a bailout from the IMF so far. So where is Shehbaz Sharif's government right now as far as the political strength goes?
Well, it seems that they are in a weak spot at the moment. And even though the Imran Khan government was removed and Imran Khan has not accepted it, he called them as an imported government. He took on to the army. His people continued, and there have been attacks, which have been unprecedented, that the army has come under fire from the people. And that's the big change that is taking place. And in Pakistan, as we know, that no government can survive if there is no support from the military. And if the support for the military is getting by itself decimated, then it is quite significant change. And therefore, Shehbaz Sharif's government, in my view, at the moment, is perhaps at its weakest. And, unfortunately, what we see is that as if Pakistan is consuming itself. And the situation in Pakistan, frankly, is a function or a dysfunction of the failure of the Pakistani leadership, whether it is military or the political or politico-military, whichever way you look at it. So it is, crisis is increasing. There is a rupturing of the institutions. Ordinary people are suffering, and their faith in the current system of governance has reduced significantly, and that's why they have risen to challenge it.
Okay, Zorawar, coming to you, what are the dangers for India? A volatile Pakistan, an economic crisis in India's neighborhood, be it Nepal, Sri Lanka, it's never good for India. But what we're seeing in Pakistan, a country with whom we've had constant tensions, we've seen cross-border terror attacks emanating from Pakistan. This kind of volatility, what kind of dangers does it pose to India?
Well, obviously, there's several scenarios. The first one, of course, is we have to always look at the external manifestations of what's happening inside Pakistan and how it spills over onto our side. We've seen in the past that the Pakistani army sometimes can use this as a diversionary move, raise some trouble in Kashmir, elsewhere. I think their cards are limited. Indian military forces are quite strong in those flashpoints. Other than that, I think what I see more is that this internal unraveling of Pakistan and this tipping point on its domestic political structure, I think this is where India needs to take a longer view. I don't think this idea of a stable Pakistan led by the military deep state is something in our interests, because ultimately that Pakistan will always have a vested interest in a confrontation and enmity with India. If we seek a stable periphery, we will need to eventually find forces in Pakistan that, even in their own national self-interest, seek some kind of a stable relationship in the neighborhood and with India. This means forces inside Pakistan, maybe it's Imran Khan, maybe others, who gradually gain more bargaining power and leverage from the military establishment and carve out some more autonomy in national security and foreign policy. It's of course going to take a long time, but India as a rising power with fairly robust ties with the major players, some of whom are the critical sort of, you could say, the benefactors of the Pakistan army. That's where India should also be playing a role, having big conversations with Washington, Beijing, and Moscow to look at that horizon of 5 years, 10 years.
Right.
I think Pakistan that gets weaker, where the Pakistani military has to make concessions to the civilian leadership, is something that's in our interest. I think the idea of this old philosophy of ours that a peaceful, stable, prosperous Pakistan, regardless of its domestic political structure, is not something we should endorse. We must take cognizance of this domestic politics and channel it in directions to the extent that we can in a more favorable direction without losing sight of cross-border vicious attacks that portions of the deep state might want to wage.
Right. Ambassador Trigunath, returning to you, there are at least 121 cases that the government is investigating against the Imran Khan government, Imran Khan himself. What more could happen in the next few days, especially after the 17th May deadline comes to an end?
Well, it's very difficult to say because at this moment it seems that whatever charges against a certain politician they have been discounted because of the public outrage. And if that is what, and as the barrister himself was mentioning, if that has been the consideration, then obviously you are expecting the same repeat of the same once again after the 17th. Because see, it is, although Imran Khan says that these are falsified charges and fabricated against him, but at the same time, you know, it is for the courts, it's for the law of the land to take its due course, and how it will take it, that will decide essentially which way it will go. At the moment, we all know that it seems that Imran Khan's popularity has increased significantly from the time that he has been removed from power, and he has continued to remain on the streets. And how he survives further after this, despite these charges, remains to be seen. It is a bit difficult to predict exactly how it will go, but I hope that their situation stabilizes in Pakistan, because the ordinary Pakistani is suffering.
Right. Barrister Humayun Chhatha, returning to you, what are the possible next steps that Imran Khan could take to protect himself, protect his party?
I think Imran Khan or his supporters are doing whatever they can to disrupt the political process in Pakistan right now. That is my view, because we can see a rise in extremism or violence in his political workers. They are using violence since the last 2-3 days to put pressure on the government or the judiciary, I would say, and that is very problematic. As Mr. Daulat was saying, I think PTI is not the material which can bring change to Pakistan political system, because they were born or they were made by the same, I would say, institutions against which he's raising his voice now. So I think things are not very simple as we people see. And as far as India's concern, I would add that I think India's political situation is not very much different, though in many respects, if we would see the last 2-3 years, we can see the farmers' protests and many other things happening in India. And we didn't raise anything like that, as you people are saying. I admit there are a lot of problems happening in the Pakistan political system. That is the natural fermentation of whatever is happening in Pakistan. And I think it is an evolutionary process, the process or the way Imran Khan or its workers are using. This will bring more destabilization to the Pakistan. I think if we see very closely, public has not joined these protests. It is limited to its workers, and I think public is rejecting its idea of, I would say, protesting against the army, or you would say of violence against the army, and they attacked the different cantonments in the Pakistan. Though the number was very low, there were a number of people, but I think that raised concerns of many in Pakistan, even the very, I would say, the people who want the peaceful evolutionary change in Pakistan.
I got your point. You're saying that the ordinary Pakistani has rejected these protests, these political protests. But coming to you, Zorawar, what is your sense? We're looking at a volatile economic situation in Pakistan currently, record food inflation, record high inflation numbers. The country is not getting IMF bailout as well. You've got currency volatility. How could this possibly trigger maybe a civil unrest in the country, tensions between the people, the army? Who could be stronger in a situation like this?
So the way I see, of course, there's many scenarios that could play out. The way I see it is that Pakistan is in the eye of a perfect storm. It's domestic economic crisis. It's losing geopolitical relevance. The major benefactors like the United States and China no longer have given it a blank check that they used to in the past. India is stronger on the east. So I think there are conditions where the Pakistani elite can choose to move in a different direction, reorient itself towards a more sensible foreign policy, stabilize ties with its neighbors, and focus on domestic development. They obviously can't do that because there is a vested interest of the Pakistani army and deep state in the privileges that it extracts from a heightened securitized relationship with India. So the alternative is going to be more crisis. And I feel the Pakistani military is going to have to make concessions to the civilian leadership. It's going to have to respond to the populist backlash. It cannot crack down precisely because these other conditions I mentioned have not made it conducive for it to take a strong-handed approach. So we might find a more muddling along approach where they will move from crisis to crisis. But if, for example, you have a coalition from the deep state and the civilian leadership in the coming months, try and sort of take charge and change course more than just incrementally. I think that's something that will find support from India and the international community.
All right, we've done our time.
Of course, muddling along over several more crises. But on the whole,
Zorawar, I've run out of time.
Churning is going to be good for India.
Okay, we've run out of time, but Zorawar Daulat Singh, Ambassador to Grenada, Barrister Chatta, thank you very much for joining us on this segment on the political crisis that we see in Pakistan and the cues for India. We're going to take a break here, but on the other side, India and Canada are aiming to seal an initial trade agreement this year in a bid to increase trade and investments between the two nations. A special discussion when we are back.